You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
Welcome to the Hot Options Report, your premier source for insight into the fast-moving options market. Each day, we'll track down the products that are dominating the options chains and impacting your trading account. From Apple to VIX and everything in between, if it's lighting up the options tape, then you'll find it on the Hot Options Report. And now, get ready to scan the tape for the most explosive options activity on the street. It's time for the Hot Options Report.
All right, everybody. That music means it is time for the final Hot Options Report for this week. Coming at you on Friday, August 15th. Another wild week out here in what is normally the traditionally sleepy period. The dog days of summer. Blame inflation, blame the macro, blame the administration, blame everything for driving some flow out there this week. But you know, we like a little flow on this show, so we're okay with it. Now, if you're listening to this show, chances are that you're pretty serious about options trading. So let me put something on your radar. Public. It's the most cost-effective way to trade options. That's because Public is the only platform that gives you rebates on your options trades. They also have some of the industry's lowest index options fees, whether you're placing single leg or complex multi-leg trades. Every dollar counts. Check out public.com/optionsbrief and discover the most cost-effective way to trade options. Again, the Hot Options Report brought to you by Public. Full disclosures in the podcast description. All right, let's get down to business here with your Hot Options Report. Let's kick things off as we like to do in the land of VIX options. Listeners, was it a spicy day in VIX land? The answer was yes. 843,000 contracts on the tape. That beats the ADV of 715,000 contracts by a fair margin. So pretty spicy day, all things considered, out there in VIX land. What was the hot option in VIX options, you might be asking? 97, so nearly 100,000 of the 15 half puts going up for an average price of about 37 cents. VIX going out a little bit north of the 15 handle today. So those 15 half puts looking pretty good, even at that average price there. Now, of course, VIX options don't trade off the cash, but you folks know that if you're listening to this show by now. All right, let's keep on rolling out to SPY, listeners. Was it a hot day out there in SPY land? You know, with VIX lighting it up, you might be forgiven for expecting SPY to beat its ADV as well. Not quite the case. Came close, though, a little north of 7.5 million contracts on the tape for SPY. The ADV right around 8 million, so pretty close. About 500,000 contracts separating the two out there today. The hot option in SPY today, 610,000 of the 645 calls. Unfortunately for SPY, no winner chicken dinner, going out a little bit shy of that strike today, 643.44. Let's keep on rolling out to the S. Was it a hot day out there in the SPX? The answer was, it was decent. It was close to its ADV. The ADV a little bit north of 3.8 million, coming in right around 3.6 million for the S today. So a pretty decent day, all things considered, especially given the fact that we are heading into the dog days of summer. What was the hot option in the SPX today? 144,000 of the 64 half puts. And we went out pretty much right at that strike, listeners. Once again, kissing the strikes in the indexes out here. The 0-day world, full of fun. 64.49.80 to be precise out there. So interesting stuff. Let's keep on rolling out to small caps. You know, in what is normally a sleepy time of year, a banger week for small caps. IWM has been putting up near record numbers multiple times this week. And you know what? That ADV continues to grow. It's almost up to 1.5 million contracts a day now, from starting out the week right around 1.3 million. It's 1.45 million right now. It beat it again today, 1.5 million contracts going up in small caps. Not quite as hot as we've seen earlier this week, well north of 2 million contracts, but still a very active day in small caps. What was the hot option in small caps? An interesting one. We've been seeing a lot of September downside, lighting it up out there of late. Now we're going out to August weekly downside, in particular the 205 puts expiring on August 29th, going up 90, almost 91,000 times today. Small caps going out right around 227.13 to be precise. So 205, got a ways to go to get there by August 29th, listeners. We'll keep an eye on it as we keep on rolling out to the Qs, listeners. Was it a hot day in Nasdaq land? The answer was yes. 4.1 million, pretty much in line with its continuing to elevate ADV, which is a little bit north of 4 million right now. So coming in slightly above that. What was the hot option in the Qs today, listeners? The answer was nearly 300,000, listeners. 301,000 to be precise, almost 302,000 of the 578 calls, again, expiring today, going up for an average price of around 66 cents. Not looking great for those Qs going out right around 577 and a third, listeners. So rough for the folks who were loading up on upside north of the 578 strike today. If you sold them, not a bad day for you. Let's keep on rolling. Was it a bad day in the single names, listeners, or was it a banger? The answer was, it's another banger out there, listeners. It is wild to see nearly 1 million contracts is what it's costing to break into the top 10 most active right now. That is absolutely wild. That's more than double what we've seen just in recent episodes of this show, listeners. So 927,000 contracts is what it cost you to break into the top 10 today, listeners. That gets you to our old pal, the Amazonians. What was the hot option in Amazon today? 117,000 of the 235 calls expiring today. So another wild one. We went out a wee bit shy of that strike, pretty much the 231 strike, almost exactly, listeners. So 4 handles shy of that strike. It's like they had an average price of 23 cents. So if you bought them, you know what I'm going to say, listeners. Unfortunately, not a winner chicken dinner for you, but looks like a decent amount of them went up on the bid. So let's hope they were selling some of these calls out here, listeners. It was opening paper, though. That's kind of interesting. So yeah, a decent chunk went up on the bid. Let's hope that some folks, at least, were overwriting these things. Let's keep rolling now to number 9. It's the monster, aka MicroStrategy. Is it looking more monstrous today, listeners? The answer is no. Selling off about 6 2/3 or nearly 2%, closing a little bit north of 366 and about a third, listeners. Putting up 931,000 contracts, so a banger day out there in the monster from a volume perspective, that's for sure. And what was the hot option out there in the monster today, listeners? It was the 385 call, going up 46,000 times. Luckily for these folks, not expiring today. They had the foresight to go out a week. These expire next week. Still 385, a long way to go. He's had an average price, listeners, by the way, of $5.19. So if we just hang out here or below for the next week, you're giving away $5.20. That's wild. Looks like most of these are going up towards the ask side too. So bias towards buying opportunities here, listeners. So yeah, wild stuff here in the monster. Pretty far out of the money now. MicroStrategy can move that pretty easily if it gets the bit in its teeth. But right now, looking like a bit of a distant memory. Luckily, we can come back and check in next week on the Hot Options Report, see how these are doing. I do believe, let's look really quickly, I think that is the only hot option that is not expiring today. So a bit of a departure for number 9, the monster. Number 8, it's Palantir. Closing today a little bit north of 177.17 to be precise. Putting up over 1 million contracts, 1.02 million contracts today. So a hot day out there in Palantir. And what was the hot option out in Palantir today, listeners? It was the 175 put, again expiring today. 91,000 of these changing hands. That's all opening paper too. Average price of 65 cents. So for their sake, let's hope they sold them. Again, the stock going out a little bit north of 177. Let's keep on rolling out to number 7, listeners. It's AMD. This name has been riding high of late on the backs of all the chip love that's been pouring out since NVIDIA made their trip down to DC a few weeks ago. Giving some of that back today, giving up about almost $3.50, nearly 2%, closing right around 177.5. Managing to put up 1.06 million contracts today, so a pretty hot day. And what was the hot option on a hot day in AMD, listeners? It was 125,000 of the 180s. Again, not looking good if you bought them. They traded for an average price of about 40 cents. Again, opening paper out there today. So folks opening on effectively 0-day contracts for about 40 cents. And unfortunately, if you bought them, not looking great out there, listeners. Number 6, to the fruit company we go. Apple, another company that's done well post DC trip. Closing today right around 231.60, putting up about 1.25 million contracts today, listeners. The hot option in Apple, 101,000 of the 232 half calls. Average price of about 40 cents. And once again, not a winner chicken dinner, going out nearly $1 below that strike. So if you paid 40 cents or anything for these today, and this was again opening paper, so a lot of 0-day paper going up in the equities. This market is primed for that Nasdaq proposal to come to fruition to bring 0-day options to the equities. We'll see if that happens, but action on days like today shows there is an appetite for contracts that go away the same day. Didn't quite live and die the same day. They weren't created today. They are weeklies, but still, there is a lot of interest, a lot of appetite to trade these contracts on the day that they're going the way of the dodo. Number 6, Apple, right around 1.25 million. Actually topping at number 5 with exactly 1.25 million contracts is our old pal Open, managing to continue to climb. Seemed like it was glued around 2.5 forever. Hitting $3 yesterday, closing today $3.17. So continuing to climb. Are you into Open? Are you just buying the forever call, aka the stock? Are you not touching it at all? Either way, 1.25 million contracts changing hands. A pretty active day in Open. And what was the hot option? You could probably guess. Maybe you're guessing the 3s, but you know folks are optimistic. So no, actually it's the 3 halves. 178,000 of the 3 halves. And guess what? These are expiring today as well. So 3 half, close, but no cigar out there for good old 3 halves today. Average price of about 8 to 9 cents out there today. How high did we get? We did get there briefly. Got up to 353 earlier today. So you had a chance to get out of these if you were pretty quick on the trigger finger. But other than that, brief dalliance. That was it. Opening paper once again. So unfortunately, a little bit too optimistic for the Open folks, closing today 317. But 1.25 million contracts. Nothing to sneeze at. Speaking of nothing to sneeze at, folks seem to get excited when Warren Buffett takes a stake in something. Hence, this massive move catapulting UNH to the number 4 spot today. Again, nothing to sneeze at out here. Over 1.5 million contracts, 1.52 million contracts changing hands in United Health. Again, just on disclosure that Warren Buffett has a piece. Closing today almost exactly at 304, up 32.5 handles or nearly 12%. Big run for UNH after they've had no shortage of bad news in that stock for a while. The hot option in a banger day in UNH, listeners, nearly 90,000, 88,800 of the 310 calls. Once again, expiring today, listeners, average price of $1.43. That one hurts if you bought them. Looks like they were biased towards the ask too. So you know what happens when these stocks pop, listeners. Folks get a little optimistic. They load up on the upside. Maybe getting a little bit too big for their britches here. We did kiss it once again. We got up to 310.30 in UNH intraday. So they had a brief moment in the sun where if they bought these, even for $1.43, they maybe, depending on when we hit that, they could have had a chance to, at the very least, scratch these, probably make some money. So hopefully you did. But either way, if you bought them and held them, anything north of 304, not looking great in UNH, but just a wild day in UNH, listeners. Let's keep on rolling out to number 3. Speaking of wild days and speaking of trips to DC, seems like it might be paying off for Intel. Intel closing 24.5 today, 24.56. It was just $20 exactly to start the week, I do believe. So this one's had quite the run out there. Yeah, it was pretty much $20 at the beginning of the week, listeners. So a wild time. Intel proposing that the government actually take a piece of the company. So literally going to DC to sell a portion of their company to the administration. That's wild. That's absolutely wild. We haven't really seen this before. This aggressive level of interaction between the White House and corporate America on this level, buying literal pieces of companies. I mean, we saw it in the great financial crisis, stepping in and easing. That was mostly through the Fed. Just wild stuff out here. Intel, 2.05 million contracts on the tape today. Again, just absolutely wild. What was the hot option in Intel today? It's the 25s. You know it, expiring today. 180,000 of these changing hands out there in Intel, listeners. Again, just absolutely wild numbers. The ADV in Intel, again, that's kind of inflated now because it's been trading a bit this week. It's over 500,000 contracts, 536. So think about that. The ADV for Intel is only 536,000 contracts, nearly 200,000 contracts trading just in these 25s today alone. That's absolutely wild. The average price around 25 cents. So people trading these for about a quarter for the 25s. Unfortunately, no joy for them. Went out right around 24.5. But then again, intraday, they were looking good. Got up to about almost 25 2/3. So you did have a chance to get out of those if you paid a quarter for them. Interesting stuff out here, listeners. I don't think we've heard the last of this Intel deal. And if it works, I'm sure other companies are going to make that same pilgrimage down to DC to potentially sell pieces of themselves. Absolutely wild. Number 2, listeners. It's a company maybe doesn't want a piece of the White House anymore. It's Tesla. 3.17 million contracts on the tape for Tesla, listeners, closing a little bit north of 330.56 to be precise. The hot option in Tesla today, 229, almost 230,000 of the 335 calls. Again, average price of 81 cents. You can do the math by now, listeners. Closed well shy of that 335 strike. So if you paid 81 cents for those, not looking great. Flip side, if you sold them, you got a smile to end your week here, listeners. So not bad. And then you know what the hot option is today. The top of our list, listeners. It's our old pal, NVIDIA. You know, it takes decent volume to be the top of the list when it costs you nearly 1 million contracts just to break into the top 10. That's a very active day. And NVIDIA still wearing the crown, just a tick under 3.5 million contracts going up in NVIDIA today. NVIDIA closing a little bit shy of 180.5, 180.45. And it was the 180s that were leading the dance today. Nearly 500,000 contracts. That is index volume, listeners. 476,000 contracts to be precise of the 180s, going up. Average price of 45 cents. So look at that. Exactly break even. Amazing how that happens out there, listeners. So if you paid 45 cents for them, went out 180.45, you get to live to fight another day. If you sold them, you get to scratch as well. So everybody wins, or nobody wins. Either way, that's going to do it for your Hot Options Report for Friday, August 15th. Thanks for joining us throughout the week here. We'll be back next week with more Hot Options Reports, as well as everything else that's lighting up the tape here on the network. 3 shows pretty much coming at you every day out there. So there's something for everybody. If you're not subscribed to the full network, you're missing out there, listeners. And make sure if you want to go above and beyond, think you're ready for it. You want to get options oddities like just hit our pro members a little while ago, talking about a lot of wild, unusual activity. The place to get all of that, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. And we'll see you back here on Monday, another episode of the Hot Options Report. Oh, yeah. And stay safe out there, everybody.
Check out public.com/optionsbrief and discover the most cost-effective way to trade options. Paid for by Public Investing. Full disclosures in podcast description.